Check, 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 check. Check, check. Vocals look good. All right. Let's go live. All right. Good evening, everybody. Hope everyone's having a good time and had a great week trading. I am just getting back from a trip to Japan and was able to have a pretty restful vacation, and I'm back and ready to go. So let's take a look at what's going on this week. We have a lot of stuff going on, so let's head over to the charts. So this week we have volatility almost every single day. You're gonna have opportunities to trade. Monday, you're gonna look for Monday, Tuesday, low of week in my mind, and then Wednesday, Thursday, return. We'll probably see a return back to the new week opening gaps this week, and Friday, of course, non-farm payroll is going to either make the high or low of the week, is what I'm anticipating, unless we make that high or low on unemployment claims, which is a possibility there. That we've seen this happen before, and we've also seen non-farm payroll just rip through everything. So let's take a look at the charts and see what we've got, because I only have a few minutes here tonight to prepare us for the session tomorrow and the next day. So I'm going to move that over. Okay, so let's take a look at the charts here. I did end up scalping real quick. I'm still trying to pass the 250Ks. On Friday, there was a issue with Rhythmic, and that caused a lot of the trades that I took to be kind of goofy. And so Apex did the right thing. They responded and made right all of the accounts. So I am still, I still fortunately have about 15 or so of those in the queue waiting to get going. So we're going to take a quick look at the charts here. So try to clean this up a little bit. So you'll see I got the new week opening gap here. We see that we traded down on the day. We traded down below new week opening gap and are starting to rise in Asia. I do anticipate that we will continue to rise a bit. That was quite a nice little jump that we had on Friday of last week. It caught a lot of shorts with their pants down. So hopefully you weren't one of those shorts that got caught with their pants down, but if you were, that's okay. It was a really difficult day, so don't beat yourself up about that. We want to take a look at the new month, by the way. So we're in a new month. We can kind of see how this month of April traded down. This month of May traded up. So in June, generally June happens to be more of a consolidation type month. If I take a look closer at, and let me find this real quick. Where's my seasonal tendencies? So June, what I've noticed overall is that June tends to consolidate. There's nothing that is high probability about June, but generally when you see a month like May that's generally bearish become fully bullish, that means something's about to happen. And keep in mind, I'm keeping in mind that treasury buyback that I mentioned before, right? So before, in the beginning of May, I had mentioned that there's the treasury buyback that was coming in with liquidity support soon. So there's up to 2 billion per month that can start being bought up starting May 29th. So that goes all the way until the end of June, or sorry, the end of July. So this means, to me, I am bullish. I'm not seeing price, unless there's like a world event, I'm not seeing price coming down very quickly on the monthly chart. So I think that we, from a monthly perspective, I think that we will likely expand. So first target is going to be up here, the midpoint. Let me see if I can drop this here. So the close here was 18,591. So let's make sure that's exact. And then the high was 19,022.50. So I'm going to use these as my charts here so that I can mark that Wix 50% line here. The reason why I want to mark that as a key level, and I want to mark that as a monthly key level too, is that this is where I believe we are likely to draw up to. So I'm going to move this back, but I have this high here and then the IPTA 20, 40, 60-day high. So let me copy this over down here real quick. I'll have this over on this side. 1 month wick consequent encroachment. So that is the level that I will be looking for us to trade up to and draw up to. There happens to also be a daily SIBI there, but let's talk IPTA data ranges first. We have our 20-day IPTA data range high being at 19,022.50. We have our 40 and 60-day lows being at 17,1113.75. We have a IPTA 20-day low at 17,938.50, which happens to be right at a buy side imbalance that has not been traded to. Will it trade down to that? That's a tough question. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we have a sell-off that travels all the way down to, from this high down to this low, and maybe we get that optimal trade entry before we spike back up. That is one scenario that I'm thinking, that maybe this week we have a trade higher in order to trade lower in order to trade higher. Now, given the nature of June, that's what I would expect. I would expect us to go down first and then head higher, or at least go down first and then kind of like zigzag around here if it were a normal month. However, because it's an election month, I think that we can possibly, we've already possibly seen the low of the week here. That is another thing that I'm preparing myself for, is if this week really rips, then so be it. But the third, that those two scenarios are what I'm gonna frame my trading on this week. I'm probably gonna only trade London, just because, well, I'll probably trade London on as many days as I can, because that I've come to realize that I can't really, there's no way for me to trade well when I have tons of meetings during the New York Open. So I'm going to start to study London very closely and stream during those times as well. And then go to sleep for a little bit. And then if I'm able to, I'll come back for New York and trade that as well. So lots of changes coming in. But this is what I see from a daily perspective. Before we go too deep into daily, let's take a look at the weekly chart too. So on the weekly charts, we see that we have expanded to a new IPTA high, new IPTA low. So this is now our dealing range. From a weekly perspective, I treat this as a optimal trade entry drill. I treat this as this and actually let me do one more measurement from the absolute low, dealing range low, to dealing range high. So you can kind of see the 50% mark doesn't differ very much. But when I'm looking at optimal trade entry, as Michael Huddleston says, I use the bodies of these candles. So what this means is that a feasible retracement would mean that we would rise up this week, Monday, Tuesday, maybe we jolt down. Wednesday, maybe we see a Tuesday or Wednesday low of week heading into this buy side imbalance, sell side inefficiency. Let me jot that out. Actually, it might be easier for me to also say plus 1 week BISI high. Oh, LP Trades. What's going on, man? Let me see. Sorry, I missed your chat. Let me pull this up here. What do you think of the T+1 settlement change? By the way, hello, Johnny. After researching the Treasury buyback, I find it very scary for asset prices of if they're willing to do that. Yes, absolutely. We're going to have runaway inflation, stagflation, everything bad's going to happen. But we've seen the current presidency do some pretty bad things. The T+1 settlement change, I think, is going to be fine. I think it's going to cause a little bit of goofiness in the first month here. I know a lot of firms have a mandate to get that going, and I think that that's going to cause a lot of weird stuff in this first part of June. So, am I going full risk on in the month of June? No. But in July, you better bet your ass that I'm going to end up going hard on a bullish July. I do think that LP trades, I do think that the Treasury buybacks will go till the end of July. So I think July is going to be my highest leverage month. Barring a giant world war, I think that we'll start to get indications of market failures, if we're going to get them, towards the end of July as we go into August consolidation, and September, obviously, like in the second half of September, by the time we get to that point, we'll probably start seeing some sell-offs there. Yeah, absolutely. LP Trade says, I mean, we're seeing so much more volatility because of T+1. Yeah, it's pretty wild. So yeah, I mean, we're going to see some pretty crazy stuff. This should be good for trades. So what I'm going to do here, what is this one here? 25, 100. I forget what this one was, so I'm going to remove that for now. So optimal trade entry, we see that there's this weekly BISI high, and then also I want to mark this weekly BISI low as well. And that's the high of this candle, so 17901.25. And I want to make this a weekly line. And I want to mark this here. 1 week BISI low. So I want to have this key point marked out because this buy side imbalance happens to be, and I'm going to make this a weekly level as well. I wish I could make it both colors. I can't really make it both colors, but I like this on my charts. You'll see why once I get down to the lower levels. And note what else is over here, right? We have this old monthly all-time high here. So that is right smack dab in between this weekly buy-side imbalance. In addition to that, there's a lot of confluences around this weekly level. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. Let me get rid of this so that we can see a little bit more, but I'm going to keep, that's enough for the weekly perspective. Over here on the daily perspective, while we do understand that this is our overall weekly dealing range, I'm taking this energetic move, and I'm going to be taking this and seeing if we get an optimal trade entry drop all the way down into this area, or if we just skyrocket for all-time highs and create new all-time highs. So let's see, LP trades end of July. The Fed is looking to do QT for the rest of the year. I think they would do it. I think they would do it for that long too. Yep. Cool. So what do we see for this week, right? So this week, I want a run up to roughly this monthly wick consequent encroachment. You can kind of see that there's also a sell side imbalance, buy side inefficiency sitting right here, right? So from this low to this high, there's a daily And let me draw these out. So this is a daily SIBI high, and this is in a premium as well. So I'm gonna keep this on my charts. What's the low on this? 18.819.50. And I will also tag this high up here. I'm going to get rid of the blue line up there because that happens to be a short-term high. But this low, or this high here is 18,787. So we're going to mark that on our charts as well. Now, it's kind of key for us to also note that this happens to be a lower time frame short-term high. But we'll make it SIBI, premium SIBI low plus short-term high. I think it's on a short-term high on a lower time frame, but let me check that to be sure. Where is that? Yep, here. So this happens to also be a short-term high. So I think what I can do here is, let's do this. I'm going to set this here. But I'll set this at just this -1. Just so that I can see that there's a actual like low, like short-term high up here. I'll see that blue line just below that daily SIBI low, and I'll be able to recognize that. So that's what I'm going to be looking for here. I think I need to draw these out a bit more. Let's see something here. Yeah, I want to draw this out a bit more here. That's fine. This I don't need to draw out anymore. That is, I don't know what that is actually. So we're going to remove that. We're going to get rid of some of these old artifacts that we see here. Ones that are no longer relevant. I'm just cluttering up my chart here. So this is what we see on the daily chart, right? So you want to make sure you have this premium sell side imbalance marked out. And then we also have this weekly buy side imbalance. You can see the daily one is engulfs that weekly one, but I like the confluences of this as a draw, and that would be enough for me if we start to sell off on Tuesday or Wednesday. So I'll know more by Tuesday and Wednesday, that's for sure. So be careful trading up until then, because we don't know what price is going to do, but you can probably assume that this month is likely to consolidate. So be careful this month. So that's really it on the daily. We have this here. So if we take a look at the current dealing range, which is this high to this low, we can see that we've traded up to the midpoint already. So optimal trade entry, 70% to 79%, would put us right around that sell side imbalance up here. Now, this sell side imbalance technically would also work too. So I do think we'll draw up into this area first, and then maybe wick up into this area next, and then sell off. Or we just keep on ripping like we did. So you have to be very nimble during Tuesday, Wednesday, because the jolts economic event can really cause us to move very quickly. So that's all I see on the daily chart. Let me get rid of these fibs so we can see a little bit more here. So this is what I see on my daily chart. You can see the higher time frame items further down below that I'll be focusing in on, and the old new week opening gaps that you see here. So those can and will be targets as well. Now, there happens to be a previous new week opening gap right where we're at right now. So I'm going to go down into a 15-minute time frame so I can illustrate a little bit more about what we're seeing right this very moment. Okay. All right. So, oh, you can see that scalp I took. I think it was on this one. It was a nice, quick little trade. Let's see, where was it? There it is. So a tiny little trade on the way up here. We're hovering around the new week opening gap. And you can kind of see how we started off new week opening gap, sold off to a previous buy side imbalance, sell side inefficiency, which would turn into a balanced price range. Look at how closely this emulates this, right? The high of this candle, 18,539. The low of this candle, 18,539. Exactly. So this is why you want to have previous ranges on your charts so that you can see where price is trading to. Now, I know some people that took that short, but I actually saw this taking this long, filling out this buy side imbalance, sell side inefficiency, or sorry, this buy side liquidity, and then taking out draw towards that new week opening gap, right? LP trades, bro, are you still doing those 250K accounts? Let's be honest, it's more efficient to use 25K or 50K. Yeah, this is so I am doing the 250Ks, and it's just such a good deal to not like pass up. I am also in a spot where I have the excess capital in order to try for them. So it is a much lower to much higher risk reward. Once you get the accounts, once I get the accounts, I'm not trading them like I trade them during evaluations. So that's something to keep in mind, right? Because right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 performance accounts, and this roughly 1.1 million sum in funding, which means nothing. But I do like that, given like once you start becoming a consistent trader, the extra leverage in the long run is the biggest reason why I want those accounts. If I don't get those by June 15th, no big deal. I still have plenty of other performance accounts, which I'm still trading bit by bit and risking 1 to 3% during those trades. So the 250Ks, again, I don't recommend you buy them. I think LP Trades is exactly right. The 25K and 50Ks, those are a much cleaner way to get quickly to those performance accounts. So they're much easier to pass, and I think that they give a far better return on investment because you need to be able to get to a profit of, I think it's a drawdown of $6,500 or $5,000 on the 250Ks plus $100 before you can start taking withdrawals. But yeah, they're not that hard to get up to that point in time once you've started to get much more consistent with your trades. So I started to I was fortunate enough to get a little scalp in when I saw Asia moving, so we'll continue to build those up. But nevertheless, let's talk about the 15-minute chart. So we saw that price traded down to that balanced price range here. We saw that last week it traded all the way down to what? A previous new week opening gap. And didn't quite touch it. It stopped just above it, maybe by a few ticks. So what we're looking for this week, because we did not take out a previous short-term low, you can see that we traded, we did not take out this previous short-term low here. And let me see if I can illustrate this a little bit better on the 4-hour chart. So one thing I was looking at during this time was, do we pass the consequent encroachment of this 4-hour wick or tail? And we did not. So this signals to me very, very bullish. If we see a few days form a daily fair value gap above here, I would expect for us to trade back down to it, use this as a mitigation block and balanced price range at this point in time because we have the sell side being traded to. And then as long as this daily chart closes above here, we now have a balanced price range here. So I would look for us, if we trade above this short-term high on the 4-hour chart, if we trade above it, I would look for us to come back down and take our longs for Wednesday, Thursday. We might not expand on Thursday, but there should be enough volatility for us to get a pretty good move. The problem with non-farm payroll Fridays is that oftentimes the move happens on a Friday. So you might get consolidation Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday, Judas swing, Friday, non-farm payroll. So that's what I'm anticipating this week is more so consolidation. Like if we trade higher, that will probably trade lower back down to new week opening gap. And if we trade lower than new week opening gap, I fully expect that we'll trade back up to it before Thursday comes around. So that's what those are like on a Monday. This is too early to be able to tell what's going on. But those are the scenarios that I'm playing around in my head. And you should be as well, right? So you it's not like with the daily bias, you know exactly, hey, it's going to go bullish here, or hey, it's going to go bearish here, or hey, for the weekly bias, hey, we're going to go tackle the consequent encroachment of this tail, or we're going to tackle the low here. It can be like that, but in the first couple of days, you kind of have to be nimble because in the first few days, there's always a little wick, direction, manipulation, right? And then expansion in some direction. Little wick, manipulation, expansion in some direction. So with this case, right now, it's a green candle, but I'm always like, this happens to fit, like us trading lower first and then trading higher fits my overall bullish narrative. But could it go black? Could it sell off all the way down to new week opening gap and trade all the way down here to the midpoint of this consequent encroachment? Yes. So if I were you, I will be doing this as well. I'll be having the consequent encroachment of this weekly tail on my charts. So in fact, I'll do that now just to make sure we have that, right? So let's do a swing grade template. Let's make this the close. 18,591 is the close of this. Okay. And the low of this candle's wick or tail is 18,241.25. .25. Oops. 241.25. Okay, great. So now I can also place this weekly wick consequent encroachment, which I'll tag as a weekly chart. And I'll make that into a dashed line here. I think that's 18,416. Whoops. There we go. And I can get rid of this now, and I have to make sure I label that so I know what it is, right? 1 week, tail, consequent encroachment. So in the beginning of the week, my charts look like this, where I have both sides figured out in terms of like, hey, I'm bullish. I would expect us to travel down to at least this tail's wick, see consequent encroachment, and then barely miss it. I would like for it to barely miss it, and then that would give me my indication that we're going to head back up to new week opening gap, and then even higher for non-farm payroll. So that's what I'll be looking for this week on a weekly expansion perspective. Nothing yet on the lower time frames. Let me go down to like a 1 minute time frame. You can see where the entry was here. I can see that some people in another Discord that I'm in are trying to short I don't think that they're going to be very happy with that, but maybe it does short, but you can kind of see how the longs have been winning all since that first initial drop here. Longs have been winning. Closes above the consequent encroachment of the new week opening gap. Closes above it again. Doesn't close below it. Closes above the new week opening gap. Does not close below the midpoint of this new week opening gap. Expands higher right at 18 or 8 p.m. So expands higher from 18,590. Let's see, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 some handles there. So I think that there's a lot of potential here. I won't be able to stay up to trade this. I'd rather trade London once I see what forms in Asia. I want to see what forms in Asia. I want to see how if this continues to consolidate and trade back down to new week opening gap. If so, then I would look for price to travel down to this wick low, take that sell side out, reverse, head back up to new week opening gap, take out whatever high forms in Asia, and kind of like consolidate during London. So that's what I'm playing out in my mind, and that's what I'll be looking for on Monday. So hopefully that makes sense. We're gonna take a look at both sides, but now you can kind of see. Oh, where did my weekly? It's there. You have to put it over here. Tail wick. Something like that. I probably just need to, it's probably just too far away. So let's see if this shows up on my charts now. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So now I have the with that monthly. Where's that monthly label? I thought I labeled that on the monthly. Ah, it's too far over. There we go. So you can't see it much on the weekly chart, but on the daily, you can start to see it there. If I could actually just get this to work. Not sure why it's stuck on this, but there we go. That's a little better. So now I've got the monthly wick consequent encroachment here. I can kind of see it there. I see the daily premium SIBI low. I didn't mark the premium SIBI high up there apparently, but I will do that. And I'll have those as targets. So for London, I'll look for either buy side to get swept or sell side to get swept, or a consequent encroachment to get traded to, and then a buy side to get swept. If I have a bullish bias, then I'm looking for opportunities for us to trade back down into. Maybe it trades down into this consequent encroachment of the fair value gap here. Maybe it trades down to this bullish order block and volume imbalance on the 15-minute, right? Maybe it trades all the way back down to the new week opening gap. But either way, if I'm looking for this to get taken out, like if I see a relative equal high form in Asia here, in these two, you bet I'm going to be looking for a discount area to trade back up into and take out relative equal highs and then reverse potentially from there. So yeah, that is it, folks. I am going to be heading out. I'm going to probably try and wake up early and trade London most days out of the week. And then I will also be, I think I'll also be trying to trade New York when I can. It just depends on my schedule. So we'll take a look and see if we can find some good trades on individual 250Ks. I'm no longer going to copy trade them. I realize that's a faster way to trade, but a faster way to blow them all too. So yeah, lot more to come. So we'll see everybody soon. Thanks so much for listening in. If you have any questions, just drop them in the chat. Let me know if there's other things that you see that I don't see or that you've got on your mind. But this is what my thesis is going to be moving into the coming week. So hopefully that helps determine what I see. And don't let me influence what you see. Like, don't let me do that at all, right? If you see something different, just stick to that thesis and then journal about it and see what and how it plays out, right? I might not be right, but I'm getting better for sure. And there's been evidence of that in many of my previous streams. So yeah, that is going to be it though for today. Thank you very much for hopping in, and hopefully everyone has a great day trading, great week trading, and we'll talk soon. Take care, everyone. See you later.